Welcome back to Jolah Talks Politics. I take live phone calls from real median Trump voters every night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. This clip is from last night. Please drop a like, comment, and subscribe. We are making communications breakthroughs with Trump voters.
Yes, I was just wondering why do you not like Donald Trump?
Because our betrayal of Ukraine right now is one of the worst things America has ever done in our history, in our modern history when it comes to global, betraying a global democratic nation.
Okay. How exactly do you think Trump is betraying Ukraine?
So Trump came in. He's essentially saying Russia needs to make no concessions when they're the invading country. He said Ukraine got into the war. He blamed Ukraine for being invaded. He called Zelensky a dictator. He refuses to call Putin a dictator. Trump is saying that Ukraine needs to reduce their troop count to comply with Russia. Ukraine needs to not condemn Russia at all in any way. They need to withhold any condemnation globally with any of the global organizations. Donald Trump is demanding $500 billion in mineral rights and oil rights in Ukraine, trying to purge them of their resources. And they're the country being invaded. Meanwhile, they want to take away every sanction on Russia and give Russia new fancy trade deals with us, saving the Russian stock market. So right now, if I could be like a U.S. president and I was trying to help Russia grow and get more powerful, I would do exactly what Trump is doing.
Yeah, I understand how you can see that, and I don't know why he's asking for mineral and precious earth, I think he called it. I don't really get that. I don't really know why Ukraine has to give that. I think that's a little strange. But I mean, listen, the fact that he's even trying to end the war and he's talking to Putin, he's talking to Zelensky, he's having meetings with them. I mean, it looks like to me that he cares about Ukraine and he's trying to help them. But you got to be smart because Putin's not a good guy. But like, you can't just start saying, "Oh, Putin's as the president of the United States when he's a nuclear power. Oh, Putin's terrible. He's a devil. He's evil. This
Yeah, you
blah
can
blah
say
blah
that. You can
blah."
definitely say that. Yeah, because we're a
Yeah,
stronger country. Donald Trump makes America seem weak globally. We could definitely stop Russia in its tracks, but we're helping Russia grow.
yeah. But the thing is they have nukes.
Yeah, but
If
every
the
country has nukes. A lot of countries have nukes. Not every country, but a lot of countries have nukes. Okay, if that was the standard, then Russia can do literally anything, and we can't stop them because they have nukes.
they can't do anything, but they can do a lot. China, Russia, North Korea can get away with a lot of
So at
different
what
things.
point do we stop Russia? Okay, at what point do we stop Russia because they have nukes?
I think we should stop them for a lot of different things, but sadly, you have to be very careful with what you do because they do have nukes, and if you get too much tension, there could be a World War III situation. And that's why he's being nice to Putin, not
What
because he
Trump is
likes
doing right
him.
now could be a World War III situation. Appeasing
Like what?
Russia,
How exactly?
appeasing these countries never works. You have to stomp them out immediately. Withdrawing aid from Ukraine, blaming Ukraine for the invasion, saying that Zelensky's a dictator, saying that Ukraine's totally at fault. When you realize that before the invasion, when Russia was invading, Zelensky, even when it was announced, was begging Russia to come to the negotiation table. He was begging for them to come to the table. They would not. The day of the invasion, when the invasion started, Zelensky was begging Putin to come to the table. Zelensky has been begging since before this invasion, during the invasion, for some type of peace agreement. Okay, but Trump is coming in. He's not getting peace. He's getting what Russia wants. He's getting Ukraine. He's forcing Ukraine to surrender under the worst possible conditions that are going to lead to the complete removal of Ukraine. And Russia made their position very clear. Ukraine either needs to be pro-Russia or needs to be a part of Russia. That is their position. And that's why Trump says
Okay.
it's not a real country anymore.
Okay. First off, I want to just say something. Just happened. Yeah. Sorry. Hello.
Hello.
Oh yeah. Okay. I just want to say something first of all, like so it doesn't get too heated. I'm not a Republican. I'm an independent conservative. You seem like you're progressive. I have no disrespect for you. I have nothing against you, and I just wanted to put that out there. Um, and anyways, okay. The problem is I agree that what Russia's doing is wrong. I've seen videos of how they killed innocent civilians. They tied their hands behind their backs. It's terrible. I think that's absolutely terrible. But the problem is they do have nukes, and that is a big problem. Because like Ukraine, I don't want to be. It's going to be very hard for them to win against the war in Russia. Because if they corner Putin if they corner him enough, or his government or whatever, he's going to feel threatened and he's going to nuke Ukraine, and he's going to completely obliterate them. And it's really
No,
sad.
he's not
but,
going to
like,
nuke Ukraine. They're not going to nuke Ukraine because Russia's right
why
next
would
to
he not
Ukraine.
nuke Ukraine, though?
They cannot nuke Ukraine or Europe because in Europe we have the Russian oligarchs' kids, and it would still fall out to Russia. And they cannot nuke Ukraine because literally, like, Russia's entire economy is along their western borders that are along Ukraine's east. They're not going to nuke Ukraine. There's no nuclear weapons. And they would not do that either. Their goal is territorial expansion. They don't want the world to end to mutually assured destruction. There's no evidence at all of this. Russia has done the North Korea thing, where they threaten nukes constantly. What America needs to do is act like a real conservative or a real liberal or a real American and be strong and stomp them out where they are. We should not be withdrawing and giving Russia what they want. I thought we were going to remove aid from Ukraine, not actively help Russia be legitimized on the global stage, not welcome Vladimir Putin to our soil. One of the most dangerous, like not even dangerous, one of the shittiest, most evil human beings to ever exist in the ranks of Adolf Hitler. Trump will not say one mean thing about Putin. He will not say one mean thing about Putin at all. Meanwhile, Zelensky's an evil dictator. If you ask Trump, is Putin a dictator? The guy who throws people off hotel buildings and skyscrapers for disagreeing with the government. Trump will refuse. He refuses to say one thing bad about Putin whatsoever. Americans have done this for a while. They've said Putin is bad. They have not launched nukes. In 2000, George Bush said Ukraine should come into NATO. He made a very strong appeal during his administration, Bush did, to get Ukraine into NATO. And Russia did not invade. They did not invade until 2014 when there was a revolution, when the Ukrainian people wanted freedom away from the dictatorship. They wanted to expel the Russian puppet and establish some form of democracy. And now Donald Trump is making America an enemy to democracy. He's making America side with Russia, side with the modern day equivalent to a leader who has committed the atrocities on a scale of Adolf Hitler.
Yeah, I don't think Putin's a good guy. But, I mean, I really, really do believe, and Putin said himself, that if he's in danger, he will use nukes.
Putin has changed their nuclear declaration like 15 times in the past 4 years. It's a propaganda tool. They're not launching nukes. If they're going to launch nukes, they're going to launch nukes. It's a propaganda tool to scare people like you, though, to support this.
Putin, not Newton, I said Newton. Putin, the problem is, do you agree that he likes power, right?
Yeah, they all like power. They're not going to blow up the entire world. Yeah.
Okay, but he loves power. And if Ukraine gets too far, which they actually were able to shoot some missiles into, I think, Moscow. And
Wait, Ukraine get too far in what sense? Defending against the invasion?
I'm not blaming Ukraine. I'm saying if they get too far, I understand they're defending themselves. I'm saying if they push in too much into Russia, Putin's power is threatened, Putin's money is threatened, Putin's everything is threatened. So I really do believe, and he said himself, that he would use nukes on Ukraine. And it's sad, and it's a fucked up situation.
Okay, so if Putin went into Poland, if Putin invaded Poland, what can we do at that point? If he invaded Poland, what would you recommend?
The thing is, it's not really fair, but Poland, I believe, is part of NATO. So if he invades Poland, then he's basically declaring war on all the United States and Europe. So he's not stupid enough to do that. And sadly, Ukraine is not part of NATO. So they're kind of vulnerable. And
do you know why Russia does not want Ukraine to be NATO? You know why they don't want Ukraine to be NATO?
Because if they are part of NATO, then he's basically waging war against the entire.
Yeah, that's the main point. Now, the Trump administration is saying that they don't want Ukraine in NATO because they feel threatened by NATO being on their borders. That's not true. There's already NATO very, very close to Russia. That's a thing that the Trump administration is now peddling Putin propaganda, Kremlin propaganda. They don't want Ukraine in NATO because they want to take Ukraine. They want to take Ukraine for Russia. That's the entire goal of this operation, and Trump is helping them. They want to take all of Ukraine. The same standard would apply, though. If we take a strong stance in Ukraine, they would not drop nukes, okay? That is a propaganda tool to scare people from supporting Ukraine. If they invade Poland, okay, and we say take a part of Poland, they would not drop nukes regardless. They want to get as much territory as possible. They're already, they're in Belarus already training soldiers, so they might be preparing for a war. Giving up Ukraine, if the U.S. gives up Ukraine, we are jeopardizing the entire world's security. The thing you're claiming right now that we're going to make Putin more likely to launch a nuke, I'm sorry, but it's just a really, really, I could just tell you have not looked, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be offensive, but
no, it's okay.
I'm not an expert on this, but if you look into the details on this, okay? Yeah. Putin look up Putin's history, okay? Putin has threatened actions such as nukes since he's been in power. Putin is the reason the Soviet Union, when it collapsed, did not become a democracy. Putin is one of the main reasons. Russia is a brutal dictatorship today. They don't always act rationally, okay, true, but they have always threatened nukes. They have changed their nuclear declaration. At first, it was if we supply aid to Ukraine, they're going to drop nukes. Or if Ukraine pushes back on the territory that Russia already occupied, then Russia's going to fire nukes. Or if Ukraine fires missiles into Russia, then Russia's going to fire nukes. It always changes because it's a propaganda tool. The entire goal right now is to destabilize the U.S., to isolate Europe, and Donald Trump is giving Putin exactly what he wants. It's just like, I'm sorry, but there's no grand plan here. It's just like there's no way out of this unless if Republicans in Congress can somehow convince Trump to not do this, which I don't know if they can, because Musk is even like pushing for killing all of Ukraine essentially and purging them of their resources. So like the place where every policy position from Trump so far is what I would say a Russian agent would do, unironically.
Yeah. Okay. And by the way, I don't like Elon Musk because I am a conservative leaning, but when he did that weird salutes, obviously we don't know for sure if it was a Nazi salute, but it looked really strange, and I'm not happy about that at all, and I don't have any support for him.
Yeah, all the white supremacists agreed that it was a Nazi salute. Every white supremacist knew that it was.
I do not like Elon Musk at all. I don't like him.
Yeah.
I like Trump. I'm a little confused why he's having anything to do with Elon Musk, but I overlook it, even though it's pretty fucked up because I mean, listen, there's been a lot of because he helps out Israel and he does a lot of things for the Jewish people, and I am Jewish, and he helps out Israel. He gives them a lot of money. He gives them weapons. He tried making peace with the Abraham Accords in his previous term. So and he's also combating anti-Semitism. So I like to think that Trump is overall. I wouldn't say overall. I like to think that Trump is not an anti-Semite and that he's a good guy. But anyways, I mean, Putin. If Ukraine advances too far, the only choice Putin has is to either run away or to nuke them. So I don't think he wants to lose his power. He really likes power. You can see all these videos of him. I did a lot of research on Putin. People criticize him. He like kills them or he jails them. He's obsessed with power. He likes to flex his power. There's this like some Russian billionaire that wasn't like his company wasn't like doing work, and they were like acting like corrupt or something. They weren't doing their job. So he like told the guy to sign this paper to agree that they'll start the factory all over again. And I mean, he pretty much scared the billionaire into just kind of submitting to him, and he likes to do that. That's just the type of guy he is. And I really don't think that he would just either let Ukraine like jail him, or he would run off to some other country like Assad. Like, I mean, he doesn't have nukes, but Assad, he was being overthrown by a bunch of different entities, and then he ran off to Russia because he doesn't really have any choice. He doesn't have nukes, but Putin does have nukes. And if
my biggest thing right now is your entire premise here is just believing Trump's a good guy. You're naming a bunch of things that he did pretty bad, or like Musk, or you're confused about what he's saying about Russia. You mentioned the Abraham Accords, which still just like left out Palestinians completely, and now that he wants to annex Gaza and the West Bank and make it into he wants to make the Gaza Strip. He wants to make the Gaza Strip hotels and casinos. Okay, which is also like one of the most anti-Christian things you could possibly do. I'm just saying, go off what he's saying, go off what they're doing. When Russia, Trump is making the same justifications for Russia that countries made before World War II. Okay, and the big mistake leading to World War II was the Munich Agreement that allowed Germany to just annex parts of Czechoslovakia, and I believe after that Germany invaded Poland. after getting that like justification for what they did. Now, Russia makes the same argument with Ukraine. They say that a lot of Ukrainians are ethnically Russian. So they annex places like Crimea. Okay. So Trump is backing up that argument now in the same way that different Western powers backed up Nazi Germany when they were taking Czechoslovakia and then later Poland. And the agreements did not include the things Nazi Germany did after the annexation of the portion of Czechoslovakia. So these movements, like I'm saying right now, the big thing is they never stop. Like Nazi Germany was going to keep on invading countries and taking territory. They were never going to stop. And the argument was they're scary. They have weapons. They were also in the atomic bomb race. I know they were not, nearly as far along, but we don't know how advanced their weapon capabilities were. That was up in the air. To at least some extent. So yeah, like right now, Trump is making the same justifications for Russia and Ukraine as was made before World War II. And the big mistake there was appeasing Germany. We should have squashed them right away. And right now with Russia, Ukrainian people are dying. Ukrainian people are suffering. And they want to fight for their country. They want security guarantees. They want to be part of NATO. All it would take is making Ukraine part of NATO. Zelensky said today he'd step down if Ukraine was made part of NATO. But Trump comes in and he says Ukraine's not a real country. He says that it's Zelensky's fault the war continued. He refuses to criticize Russia. He actually says that Russia deserves to keep parts of Ukraine because they fought for it and had people die. Meanwhile, Russia's doing 50,000 war crimes a day, like dropping 500 missiles a day still, or whatever the outrageous number is. The way Trump is justifying this invasion of Ukraine and justifying Russia annexing Ukraine, Russia's not going to stop. I guarantee you, if Trump is able to get his way and give Russia whatever they want, they are going to take all of Ukraine, okay, by the end of Trump's presidency, because Trump is not going to stop them. Trump will bow down to them. And all I ask for you, if you believe Trump is a good person, all of these actions are not consistent with what a good man would do, with what a strong man would do, with what a leader would do, with what someone who cares about any semblance of human reality, decency, democracy, freedom, anything at all, understanding of history. This is not how any person with any worth at all would act, okay? You have to be literally just working for the enemy at this point to do U.S. policy like we're doing it. Pete Hegseth says the same things. All of our foreign advisors saying the same things. I would just, in your mind, just remember, these are politicians, okay? Politicians do good things, they do bad things. Trump is a politician. He has never even been in government at a county level, state level. He's never been in Congress. He's never talked about a law in a way that he can understand. He's never had to write a law or pass a law or vote on laws. He's never had to work in the integral parts of government that actually matter. He just does the politics part. That's why Musk is there, because Musk is doing the policy. Musk announces a policy, then Trump announces it later right now. If you look at the actual dates of when things are happening, like USAID, Trump did not talk about it until Elon Musk announced he wanted to cut it. Musk is making the decisions. Trump is being the political person. Just remember, they're all trying to get power. Trump is also among that same vein of person trying to get power. And so are Democrats. But I would say that the Democrats' incentives for getting power, what they do to maintain power, I would say is a lot better than what other politicians do to get and maintain power. So please just look at the Munich agreements, look at the mistakes made back then, look at Russia now, look at how Trump is blaming Ukraine, giving Russia credit for the war crimes. They had people die, they deserve it. And just try to square that with your view of Trump.
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to say, because it sounds like you might want to go, but last thing I wanted to say, the reason I support Trump is because of a lot of different reasons. When Trump was president last term, you didn't have nearly as many wars. I don't know exactly what the hell was going on, but for some reason, his last term, you did not have Ukraine and Russia war. You did not have the October 7th massacre happen. Afghanistan was in a hellhole. So, and I'm very angry at Biden because the way that he took out the troops out of Afghanistan was absolutely terrible. It was so disorganized. It was terrible.
Do you know about the Doha agreements?
Sorry, just give me a second. I just want to finish this.
But you're spreading. Okay, I'm sorry. You're talking about a really important topic.
Yeah,
you know what the Doha agreements are? Doha agreements.
I do not know what the Doha agreement is.
Okay, so if you don't know what the Doha agreements are, which is what Trump did leading up to this pullout, you need to look that up too. because this is the big thing with a lot of conservatives. They don't have a full knowledge base, okay? So the Doha agreements, Trump released like 5,000 Taliban fighters, okay? He forced the Afghanistan government to release 5,000 Taliban fighters. He reduced our troop count to an all-time low, or at least in a long time, to a low of 2,500 troops. So when Biden took office, under the conditions of the Doha agreement, we negotiated that with only the Taliban, not with the Afghanistan government involved at all. And that left us in an extremely weak position, which is why Joe Biden pushed back the pullout, which was going to be May 1st, as Trump designated, until August, because the conditions were so unstable from what Trump did with the Doha agreements and what the condition was like on the ground. And we still had allied countries in there fighting. We still had our allies in there that were in Afghanistan as well that we had to also get out. So Biden had to push back Trump's pullout date because Trump's Doha agreements were so bad. That's why I need to stop you. I'm sorry, I don't want to go on these rants.
Yeah,
but
don't worry about
this is real shit. And if some service members, by the way, have personal connections to this, I completely understand that. But if they say this is Biden's fault and Trump played no role, they are objectively incorrect. They are wrong if they blame Biden and don't blame Trump at all. If they blame both, fine, be pissed off. But if you pick one to blame and you play party politics, they are wrong. Even if they went through something, they might have trauma, they might be upset about it. I completely empathize with that. But they are still factually wrong if they blame Biden completely.
Yeah, I don't think Trump is perfect, and I personally, because I see corruption on both sides, so I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat. Actually, I call myself an independent conservative because I'm conservative leaning, but yeah, do you want to talk to the next caller, or you want
I'm just saying, Trump during his presidency, 4 times more U.S. troops died. We escalated conflict. We increased drone strikes like 5 times over what Obama did, and Obama did a lot, but Trump had the most drone strikes of all time. There was a bill on Trump's desk to have an arms embargo or block arms sales to Saudi Arabia. He vetoed it, which led to an ongoing genocide in Yemen that was happening at the time. He authorized significant airstrikes in tons of different countries. Global conflict was still happening under Trump. The idea that there were no wars and no conflict under Trump is just not true. If that was true, and if you use the word war, they play a really technical definition with that. But like I said, Trump had 4 times more troops died. There was still a bunch of conflict. Joe Biden's wars were just happening in a context that were very popularized, or at least like well known in America. So Palestine and Ukraine were extremely, extremely, extremely political issues in America that we heard about more. So the perception versus the reality, if you look at the hardcore numbers, is just really off. I mean, I want to talk to you again, okay? So if you call in again a different day, definitely remind me that we had this conversation. I appreciate you calling in. I appreciate you being mindful
sure. Nice talking
and thinking about these things. I like talking to people who are thoughtful, and I can tell you're someone who's introspective, and I really do appreciate that.
I appreciate that.
Really appreciate. Yeah, thank you for the call.
Yeah, have a good one. All right, bye.
Have a good night, man.